Okay, hi there tarot people. So let's look at our card of the day today, which is the moon reversed. Ooh, a little bit in dappled sunlight here with the trees. So check the moon out. There is the crayfish coming out of those universal waters of consciousness. There is a dog and a wolf howling at the moon with between two pillars, and those yods falling out of the sky, and the moon in its four phases. And a little pathway going off into the hills. So the moon is our subconscious, and it's our subconscious because that's where all of our past and all of our ancestral and our inherited patterns are all stored inside of our subconscious programmed awareness. We'll call it awareness even though we're not aware of it because it's in our subconscious, but this is the part of us which bubbles to the surface and brings messages to our conscious mind and inspires us to do things, or just causes our inner reactions and brings out certain unconscious messages of who we have been taught to be and who we have taught ourselves to be and who we are programmed to be, and all of our beliefs and our ideals and subconscious and emotional reactions. They're all stored inside of this below the surface, hidden, occult, dark nature of ourselves. So the moon is that planetary body that shines light upon the earth in the darkness, and we only actually see it, usually we can see it during the day, but just barely. We can see it strongly at night time in the dark, and the moon reflects the light of the sun, of the spirit, back to us and shows us how to light up areas of darkness. It can even create shadows in the darkness, the moon can. So this moon, the moon represents our subconscious nature and all of that which is below the surface of our awareness. And when cards are upside down, we've seen before that they represent that which is, or that which we hide from seeing, or that which we don't normally want to address or confront or embody. It's that part, when cards are upside down, we deny, we repress, we suppress certain aspects of the card. The moon itself is in the darkness because it's already quite suppressed. It's already a nature of our shadow, and the moon represents our shadow nature. And so when we have a card that's already representative of our darkness, or of what is below the surface, and that 95% of our brain activity that we're not aware of even, then we are suppressing the awareness of that already suppressed nature inside of us, which means like a, it's like a double negative or a double suppression. And this can be a challenging card, I think, and this can bring out, this is usually where life brings out something a little stronger or something a little more obviously negative in our lives. If there is something negative taking place in your life right now, or if there are some subconscious patterns that want to come to the surface, that want to be seen, and yet we have this inner conditioning and this habit of pushing them away because they're not comfortable for us to see, then we're likely to manifest an exaggerated form of this discomfort. And we're likely to see that some of that discomfort may come out in life in a way where it forces us in a slightly harsher way to confront some of our conditionings and subconscious patterns. This is potentially a little bit tricky, and this is not the only way that this card comes up upside down in our lives, because the card can be upside down for different reasons. One of them is this denial of needing to take a look at what is below the surface, this needing to see that part of us which is normally occult and hidden. And another reason is that in shadow work in general, or in this journey into the dark night of our soul, which this moon represents on many fronts. It can be a delicate journey, and it can be a journey which we need to give respect towards. In other words, we need to understand that we're not always ready to go into the darkness. We're not always mature and prepared or balanced enough in our lives in order to dive into the shadow and see our darkest history and the most hidden and deep aspects of ourselves, which the moon would love to illumine and enlighten for us. We're not always ready for this journey, and sometimes this card comes up upside down because we have to sit and honestly ask ourselves, hey, am I feeling safe enough? Am I feeling self-confident enough in order to go in and have a look and see which of my patterns needs to be seen, which of my programs is really bothering me or triggering me in my life right here and now? Is this what is the most important thing for me to look at in my life? And maybe it's not. Maybe now is not the time. Maybe we need a little bit of a moment of finding our inner balance, of finding a feeling of safety in our life before we're ready to jump in and dive into the moon. That's another reason this card is upside down. There are obviously other reasons too. So the four animal figures in the card represent our instinct, represent our animal nature, represent that part of us which is naturally going to be looking after ourselves. And it's that animal nature in our past that we all have. We all communally have these inner fears and this inner animal nature that wants to survive. And as human beings, we're a little bit beyond that, and yet we have this inner instinct to fight for our survival. And so we will naturally defend ourselves, and we'll naturally stand up for our own rights to survive, and we'll naturally buy into those more animalistic fears at some times. And the moon represents our journey into those fears and our ability to embrace them and to take responsibility for what we are afraid of. When the moon is reversed, quite often we're not really willing to take responsibility. We want to throw the blame out there onto the world for everything that might be happening to us. And we are maybe not mature enough or not ready enough to say, okay, I created that, didn't I? Oh yeah, that's my subconscious pattern inside that created that reality, and that's why I'm experiencing this. That's why I'm attracting maybe some of this negativity into my life. If we're not ready to admit to that yet, if we're not ready to jump into that, if we're caught in the blame shame game, throwing it out on the world, on other people, instead of being able to own and take responsibility for what we are creating, this can be another reason that the card is reversed. And maybe we're not ready, and maybe we are. Maybe we need to step into our life and say, hey, that trigger, yeah, okay, I can see that there is something dodgy in that situation in life or those circumstances that are taking place in front of me, but what is it that's attracting that to me? Why am I triggered? What is the real fear behind that? Because it's my attachment to that fear and my inability to see that fear that keeps attracting certain experiences into my life which may be hard to take responsibility for, and maybe hard to own in some way or shape or form. And this is part of the message of the moon card reversed. Fundamentally, we need to dive into the dark night of our soul. We need to go through our shadow in order to find the sun which comes afterwards. There is a journey into our darkness which is super important, where we practically and objectively become self-aware of our attachments to the past, our ancestral patterns and our inherited stories and programs that can teach us so many beautiful lessons that we don't need to manifest as necessarily as physical lessons of our own in relationship to the world. We can look into the past and learn from the mistakes of our ancestors and from our own personal mistakes in our own conscious past that we may feel a resistance to look at, but in reality can teach us a lot about who we are right here, right now, so that we don't have to be dragging that past unconsciously around with us in the repression and the denial of its importance and the lessons that come with those past experiences. And this is the message of the moon reversed. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make a comment below. It's a slightly darker, slightly more difficult message, but one that holds a real empowerment behind it, and one that can really liberate us from being attached to our past. I hope you enjoyed this message. If so, make a comment below, share what your experience of the moon has been, and I send you all my love and heartfelt wishes to be able to dive into the shadow in a safe way.